If you do not trust someone, do not use them. But once you use them, you must trust them. Cow cow. There are moments in history when words outlive empires. When a single sentence, spoken in the midst of power and chaos, can echo through centuries and find relevance in our modern world. This is one of those moments. Cao Cao, a name that still stirs debate in Chinese history, was not merely a warlord, a strategist, or a politician. He was, above all, a master of human nature. He understood loyalty, fear, ambition, and betrayal more intimately than most. And from that deep well of experience comes this piercing insight: if you do not trust someone, do not use them. But once you use them, you must trust them. At first glance, it may seem like a simple guideline for managing people, a policy of delegation, perhaps, but in truth, it holds a vast ocean of meaning. It is a philosophy not only of leadership but of commitment, of integrity, and of the cost of doubt. Trust as the cornerstone of leadership. Trust is not a luxury in leadership, it is the foundation. When you bring someone into your fold, whether they are an advisor, a friend, an employee, or a soldier, you are not simply borrowing their skill. You are borrowing their heart, their focus, and their loyalty. And for those things to bloom, they must be met with trust. Cao Cao knew that trust cannot be partial. Half trust is poison, it corrodes relationships from the inside. It causes hesitation at critical moments. It invites paranoia, second-guessing, and hidden resentment. Leaders who use people they do not trust end up creating enemies within. Even if unintentionally, they sow seeds of fear, and in time, harvest betrayal. But what happens when you do trust completely? When you put your faith, fully and fearlessly, into someone you've chosen? Then, even in failure, there is honor. Even in missteps, there is growth. Because people empowered by trust often rise to become more than they imagined. Not because they are flawless, but because they are believed in. The price of distrust. There is a reason Cao Cao placed this principle so firmly. He lived in a time when betrayal was currency, and trust could mean death. He had seen firsthand what happened when rulers used people as tools, expendable, replaceable, disposable. The cost was never just the person. The cost was a culture of fear. Distrust, once it enters a system, spreads like ink in water. People begin to hide things. They hedge their words. They smile, but with shields behind their backs. And the greatest danger? You begin to doubt even those who are loyal. Paranoia takes root. And once it does, clarity dies. In contrast, a leader who trusts boldly draws out the best in others. Trust is not weakness. It is, in fact, the highest form of strength. Because it is risky. Because it requires vulnerability. Because it demands that you say, I place my fate, in part, in your hands. The moment of decision. There is a sacred moment in leadership, or in any relationship, when you choose someone. You choose them for their talents, their values, or perhaps even for the potential you alone see in them. That moment is critical. Cao Cao's philosophy is clear: before you choose, be cautious. Examine closely. Be as skeptical as you must. Because once the decision is made, there is no room for doubt. To trust halfway is to lead halfway, and that will not carry you through storms. Trust, once chosen, must be total. Think about it in the modern world. How often do we see people chosen for roles, partnerships, or positions, and then doubted at every turn? Micromanaged, second-guessed, undermined. The result? Mediocrity at best, burnout and resentment at worst. Now imagine the opposite. Someone is given a responsibility, and along with it, belief. They are told, I trust your judgment. I stand behind your choices. I am with you, even if you fall. That person will not simply do the job. They will fight for it. They will rise to meet that trust, again and again. A lesson for modern leadership and life. This principle transcends war councils and ancient empires. It is as true in boardrooms and families today as it was on the battlefields of the Three Kingdoms. In business, in friendship, in marriage, in creative partnerships, trust is the breath that gives life to collaboration. Without it, we are simply moving parts grinding against one another. Confucius' quote reminds us, trust is not just a feeling. It is a decision, one that comes with risk. But without it, there is no greatness. We must be thoughtful in whom we choose. But once we have chosen, we must not sabotage that choice with suspicion. To trust someone halfway is to plant a tree and then block its sunlight. You cannot expect it to grow. The weight of leadership. Let us also consider the deeper layer of this quote, the burden it places on the leader. It tells us that the responsibility of trust does not lie only with the one being trusted, but more heavily with the one doing the choosing. A good leader does not just select talent, they commit to it. They don't just use people, they believe in them. And belief, when offered sincerely, can be transformational. We've all had moments when someone believed in us, perhaps even more than we believed in ourselves. And that trust became a mirror that showed us who we could be. That's what true leadership does. It does not hover. It does not threaten. It elevates. Cao Cao was a man surrounded by enemies, navigating treachery and ambition on all sides. And yet, even he recognized that trust, once given, must be whole. It must be unwavering, not blind, but bold. Because leadership without trust is tyranny. And teamwork without trust is simply compliance, not unity. The human element. Beyond politics, beyond strategy, this quote speaks to something tender and universal, the human desire to be trusted. We all want to be seen as worthy. We want our choices to matter, our voices to carry. We want someone to say, I see you. I believe in you. I entrust you with something that matters to me. That is not just leadership. That is love. That is connection. That is humanity at its most meaningful. And so, this quote teaches us not just how to lead others, but how to honor them. How to make decisions that empower, not enslave. How to create bonds that endure, even in difficulty. Final reflections. Cao Cao was no idealist. He was sharp, pragmatic, even ruthless when needed. But this quote shows us a rare wisdom, a guiding star in the fog of command. Do not be careless with your trust. But once you give it, let it be complete. Let it be real. Let it be strong. In a world full of skepticism, cynicism, and betrayal, true trust remains revolutionary. If you do not trust someone, do not invite them into your mission. But if you do, if you've made that sacred choice, then honor it with full-hearted faith. For it is in that kind of trust that empires are built, loyalty is forged, and the impossible becomes possible.